welcome back to Crafting for Profit Live. We are so happy to have you here today while we dive into the topic of building a community that not only fosters creativity, but also supports your business monetarily. We're thrilled to have Lauren Quigley with us. Lauren is a creative content creator who has collaborated with brands like Michaels, Cricut, and Glowforge.
Lauren successfully built a thriving paid community called the Creative Community, where she shared exclusive content, tutorials, and so much more. Although Lauren has made the difficult decision to close her creative community, she's joining us today to share the valuable insights, strategies, everything, secrets that made it successful. Her experiences can help you determine if launching a paid online community is the right path for your crafting business.
So this episode is pre-recorded, but we invite you to join us in the live chat if you're here watching the premiere on YouTube. We'll be answering on-topic questions, but if you have other questions, you can go ahead and leave those down in the form that we have in the description of the YouTube video or the podcast show notes.
All right, it's time to get into it. So, Lauren, first of all, share a little bit about yourself, how you got started with your crafty business, how you grew your following, any strategies or secrets, that type of thing.
Yes. Well, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I am Lauren, and I am a military spouse. I am a creative person. I originally went to school for ceramics, and I got married when I was 21 to my husband, who is amazing. Being a military spouse, we move around very frequently. So I found myself having all of these kind of creative side hustles. I had a few Etsy shops. I sold tons of different handmade things. I kind of have my hand in a bunch of different types of crafts. But when we moved to New York, I found myself wanting to get into a different type of craft because I was doing freehand embroidery. And my mom got me a Cricut machine to help me with my freehand embroidery because it cut fabric. And I quickly realized that I could cut vinyl and all of these fun things. And it randomly landed me in the world of glitter tumblers. I started a TikTok account just to kind of share what I was doing, and it blew up. I realized that people wanted to create glitter tumblers, but they didn't necessarily want to use epoxy because of all of the bad things, that come with epoxy. So I also had just had my third baby. I'm also a mom of four. So I had my third baby and I needed to use something that was safe to use inside of my house. So I kind of found myself in this niche of epoxy-free glitter tumblers. And that's how I originally grew my following, even though over the past decade, I have had followers from other creative adventures, but they were more so like friends and family. It wasn't until the world of glitter that everything really took off for me, and I amassed this amazing following.
That is really cool. I didn't know that about you, actually.
Yes, it all started with glitter tumblers, which is crazy because I had done so many other things, and I didn't want to be known for just the glitter tumblers. That comes later on because I did them for a few years. But after some of my videos went viral, I realized that I could not keep making the tumblers like any faster. Like I was already at my complete max of making starting 20 tumblers a day. And this was during COVID times. So I started in 2019, the end of 2019, 2020, COVID crafting, full swing. That's when everything really went off for me. It was crazy.
So you realized that making all these tumblers and selling tumblers was just like not scalable, right? Because you could only make them so fast. So how did you sort of decide then what to pivot to? How did you decide to pivot?
At the time, we were living on the West Point campus, and my husband and his friends were kind of like, Lauren, this is really cool. Like, you've really taken off. How are we going to scale this? I remember one of my husband's friends came over. He was looking at my small studio. He goes, all right, we can build something that goes up the wall where we can put all of these tumblers, and trying to help me scale that way. But I said, I cannot make so many tumblers. They even pitched the idea of like, well, let's hire some people to come in and make the tumblers with your designs. I said, no, we can't do that, y'all. This is like my art form. So then we decided, well, let's kind of switch it where we're pivoting, where now I'm no longer going to make the tumblers to sell, but I'm going to teach other people how to do it. And that's how that started. So I came up with the name Lauren Quigley's Creative Community. and that creative community. The day one when I decided to open it, I think that first month over 250 people joined, and at its height had over 500 paid members, and it was such a beautiful thing and just such a fantastic creative community. I loved it.
That's amazing. So when you started it, obviously you were like, I don't know if this is going to work or not. Did you have like a goal in mind when you started it? Like if I got 5 people, I would be okay. I could replace the tumblers. Was there like a little goal there?
Well, initially, I thought 100 people would be awesome. That's what I was just thinking. I was like, this would be great income. 100 people, that would be ideal because I had already had the followers, and it had probably been like a year that I had already had the following, was being really consistent over on TikTok. I had a smaller following over on Instagram. It's since grown a lot. I thought maybe I could start a YouTube channel. So I did that, and I got monetized fairly quickly because my followers followed me over there. But I needed something more because YouTube, it wasn't paying what I would have hoped it would have. So that's the creative community came into fruition. And after the 100, and it kept going, I remember being on the phone with my friend saying, oh my goodness, this is crazy. We're going to have to get some help up in here. And so, yeah. And then because of the creative community, I was able to bring on some people to help. So I had contractors that would do things for me, and it was amazing. But what I always wanted to do was under promise and over deliver. And I still am like that to this day, even though the creative community is no more. But it's not a bad story. It's not a sad story. I promise. I had to stop it because my husband deployed, and I have 4 kids. So anyway, we'll get to that later on.
So you have this creative community, and I think when people think about that, they're like, okay, is it just like a Facebook group? Like, what is it?
Yes.
So what sort of like value and assets and sort of like, what did you give people in exchange for their money?
Fantastic question. So at this time, there was also another type of platform called Patreon. And I noticed that Patreon, took a chunk of that money that you would get. So I decided I did not want to do Patreon. And I had my website through Wix. And Wix has this platform on there called subscriptions. So basically, people can subscribe to your website, and it would be a paid thing. And through there, if you are a paid member, you also have access to this thing called the member share or member file share. So I thought this would be a great platform for me to host how I get paid. So how people will have that monthly reoccurring fee. They can also cancel from there. It's easy to use. And then that's where they can access all of their files. So when I first started the group, yes, it is in a Facebook group, and people would get accepted by asking questions and putting their order number and their email just so that we could make sure that everything was all straight. And at this point, it was just me doing all of that. And I quickly realized after month 1 that I needed some help, because that was a lot to go through on my own and kind of check everything and make sure that the people requesting to join the group had paid to and all of that great jazz. So as far as the assets that I had, like I said, under promise, over deliver, I had many, many, many cool things. So one of them was the monthly SVGs and files that were for commercial use, that I actually contracted one of my friends who is a fantastic designer. And so she would make all of the monthly files for me, and she would upload them for me. And that was fantastic because I am not a digital designer. I feel like I'm a designer, but not a digital designer. I'm more of like the creative. So I would tell her my ideas, and she would make them come to life, and I would pay her for that. And the other things that we would do, monthly challenges. Every month we had a new fun challenge, and the winner at the end of the month, it would get voted on. They would receive a $50 gift card, and that would also be shared on a feature Friday. And so it was really fun to kind of get that community momentum going. They loved being a part of that. Every single month, I also brought in a monthly speaker, and that was called Babes in Business. And so the Babes in Business segments were very beneficial because we had people come in. We had a photographer come in and show how to do settings on a camera. We had an accountant who specialized in handmade small businesses come in. She was available for you to hire her, but she gave some very good, solid advice. We had somebody come in who did vendor markets. And so just the Babes in Business segment, we would do giveaways, tons of giveaways because I worked and I still work with a lot of really cool companies. So every month we did really cool giveaways. And the real reason why everybody was in there was for the weekly lives or my pre-recorded tutorials. So at the time when I first started the group, it was during COVID times. So everybody at my house was still there. I had 3 kids and my husband. It was cool because my husband was there so he could kind of take them. And I started just doing lives every weekend there. And then I realized after restrictions started lifting and everything, I could do pre-recorded. And so that's kind of how I started with more pre-recorded type longer form tutorials. And that was fun. I really loved that. So that's some of the things that I did. And one big thing that everybody looked forward to in December, I had it for multiple years. So in December's, I would do the Lauren Quigley's 12 days of giveaways. And each day was a huge giveaway. I mean, we did some big stuff like $500 gift cards to businesses that I worked with. I also at this time was doing a lot of like exclusive boxes with some of the companies I was working with. So we would give those away, just lots of fun stuff. There was always giving, an abundance of information in that group. And it created that really awesome community feel where even the people who were in it would have nothing but positive things to say and say, I cannot believe like this is only $15 a month. I said, yay, thank you. I love to hear that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is a lot of value for $15 a month.
Yes, I agree. And it was a lot of work, even though I was able, with that income, I was able to hire some people to help me. It was a lot of work. So I realized since my husband's in the military and he was going to have to deploy, I knew that when he was deployed and I would basically be a single mom of 4 kids at this point because I had another baby in between that time. I was not going to be able to continue the creative community. I wouldn't have enough time. And I knew that I could have kept it. I could have continued charging people and just shown up here or there, but I'm not that type of person because nobody was putting the pressure on me to show up. I put that own pressure on myself. So I knew that if I wasn't going to be able to do the weekly lives or I wasn't going to, put in as much time as I thought that the group and community deserved, I didn't want to keep it because I just knew that mental load would be overwhelming in my head. So it wasn't a bad thing. There's nothing to say bad about the group. And I highly encourage those who are thinking about, maybe having an extra source of income, or if you're a creative, you make digital files or anything, have something like this because it's very beneficial.
So you were talking about like the day-to-day operations and hiring a few people to help you. Any other tools, platforms you use besides Wix for this that maybe people should look into?
Oh, good question. Not another platform, but my husband had made me some spreadsheets. He's a spreadsheet guy. I am not that. He created the stuff for me. I would basically tell him what I was looking for. So I would say, I need a spreadsheet that updates and lets me know if we export this information from the website, like who canceled and whatnot. I didn't want to have to be the one to like remove people from the group if they didn't pay, because that would, every time somebody would cancel, their reason was financial. And I'm like, I don't want to remove something positive in this person's life if their reason is financial. It always felt sad to me. He helped me come up with like a spreadsheet to be able to do that so we could see. And it just kind of like took that part out of it for me, which was good.
That's good. That is hard to do. Yeah.
It is hard to do. And sometimes I wouldn't like kick people out right away because you also don't want to hurt people's feelings or whatever. But one of the protectors that I set up a few different emails that would automatically go out, like if a payment didn't go through or something. And usually the first time an email would go out, they would say, oh my goodness, like this is a payment issue. My card expired, or I canceled that card, I forgot, and then actually re-sign up. That's one of the things that I learned within the first like 3 months, that was actually kind of common, and that people didn't want to leave. If they did get out of the group, they would say, wait, I didn't want to leave the group. I I want those tutorials. Can I come back in? And so that's why I put those extra measures in place and had those automations set up so that it would be taken care of on its own.
Yeah, that's really smart. I have like sort of a paid subscription, and I don't have something like that set up. So I feel like that's something I
Yes.
should look at. It's all manual, and the person who did that for me it doesn't work for me any longer. I just have like a note on my thing to be like, figure
Yeah.
this out. So there's people who have been
Yes.
like getting files that probably shouldn't be getting files anymore because I just have not had the brain power to figure it out yet. But yeah, I feel like I need more automation when it comes to this particular thing.
One of the things about having the platform through Wix and then also having the group, the member files were uploaded onto Wix, and you could only access those if you had an active current paid membership. Whereas the group was separate from that. Like, Wix isn't going in and monitoring the group itself. So that was nice to have those because the files were really good. So people would want to have those. So that's why I say have something that's beneficial that people really want, and then they're more likely to pay for that.
How many
You would
files
have
did you do per month?
SVGs, Tumblr wraps, or like patterns. This was also like before AI. So like the SVGs, a lot of my followers didn't know how to make SVGs, neither did I. So I would do between 10 and 15 a month. And if it was 10 on the lower end, it was because they were very detailed, very pretty. And sometimes I would even hire one of my other friends. She was a digital artist. So she didn't really do SVGs, but she had beautiful Procreate patterns. And so I would like pay her, hey, can we get some exclusive things for my group? Yes. Oh, another asset was all of the exclusive discount codes. So a lot of the people that were in there originally were there to make Tumblrs. So we had exclusive discount codes to basically anything that you could think of Tumblr related. And that was very good because it did save money. You would save more money with the discount codes than you would pay for the group.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's time for a commercial break. So this commercial break is for my summer Cricut crafting ebook. So we have this on sale for just $10. This is such a good deal. It's an ebook. It has 15 written tutorials for summer projects with your Cricut. It includes all of the files you need to make these projects. They are so summery. They are so cute. I had such a fun time making this. So you can grab that for only $10. If you want to get crafting with your Cricut for summer, the link is link.craftingcamps.com/summerbook. So you can go ahead and grab that. And yeah, I think it's awesome, but I also made it. So maybe Angie should chime in and also say it's awesome.
I do think it's awesome. And you just heard Lauren say that it all started with her Cricut machine. Like Cricut kicks off a lot of things for people. So let this be your kickoff to like inspire you to create some kind of business with
Cricut kicked off both me and Angie as well. So
it did. Like it kicked off all three of us into a handmade business. So spend your summer crafting with your Cricut, and you never know what's going to happen.
You never know. At some point, you might have a whole bunch of lasers and printers and cutting machines in your studio, like I do.
With like a warning label or something, like could lead to over purchasing of other machines,
other crafting machines.
100%.
You may have multiple lasers in your future.
And you won't realize what other things you can get into. Because when I first got my Cricut, my mom got the original maker for me because it cuts fabric. I didn't even end up using it for this. I started with just cutting vinyl and like slapping it on a tumbler. I said, oh, that's cool. How can I seal this in? It literally spiraled.
And then like once you understand how to use a Cricut, you can basically understand how to use a laser and how to use a sublimation printer. Like they all are interconnected. So it makes it really easy then to like get into something else that you might be interested in.
It's like easy to fall down that rabbit hole.
We invite you to fall with us, everyone.
Yes. I leaped down that rabbit hole, and I'm very glad that I did.
Yes, me too.
Same.
All right. So we talked a little bit about this, but I want to know more about kind of the back end of this, of how did you like plan and create content for your community to keep them engaged? Like, what was your process for, did you like batch content? Did you just do it weekly? I'm just kind of curious about how you kept on top of that.
So I used Canva for some of like my graphics and whatnot. So I kind of knew what I was going to be doing as far as like what I was posting in the group, like the Babes in Business, the giveaways, all of that. And each month was kind of focused around what that monthly challenge was. I would kind of be posting things around that or what I did in a tutorial. But the tutorials that I did were kind of focused on holidays or the season or kind of whatever was trending or what people would ask. But I was getting tons of requests. So my content was sometimes all over the place because people wanted to learn. They saw me do one thing. They really wanted to know 10 different things of that one item. So I was constantly experimenting in there, and that really kept the interest. So as far as planning, I wouldn't plan too far in advance. I am really not a big planner, if I'm being honest. I am more so like I get an idea, I have to do it right then. And that is kind of even how I approach what I still do today, even though I have all of these other things going on. If there's something that I'm really into, I'm talking about it right then. I'm doing it that week. Um, and that's kind of like what I did with the creative community. You know, even though things were planned out a month before, I would say the files were always done a month before. So that was good. That was a headache that I didn't need to deal with because I would outsource those types of things. One of the other things, you know, people could just ask questions all of the time in the group. So it wasn't necessarily like I was posting every day. I kind of let the group just do its own thing. And it turned into this beautiful thing where it really was a community in the sense where sometimes it was just self-run. They would ask questions with each other. They would start chats among themselves, friends. They would meet each other in there. I mean, it was really cool. So there wasn't really too much planning. I would say just like know what you're going to do the month before. That's kind of what I would recommend to anybody out there. But if you're a planner, it could be even more beneficial for you because you know what you're going to be talking about.
We get an idea, and by the end of the day, we're like, okay, we have a logo, you know, for whatever it is. You know?
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. I feel like that's definitely kind of how we roll. We both keep being like, we're going to get ahead. We're going to get ahead. And then like whatever the day is before the thing launches, we're like, oh my God, we're not ahead.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that's really just the creative brain. I think that's how we work. If you're a creative person, even though I know there are creative people who are really good at planning, but I am just not one of them. And it's okay because I really do thrive in the chaos. And when I get an idea, that tends to bring on 10 more ideas. And then I have to do them all in all the different colorways and all of the different things.
I do like the idea of the content being community driven almost, because that
Yes.
it almost brings them into the community more. Like if I
Right.
request something, Lauren's going to make a video on it next month. I know she is. So, like I feel like that
Right.
even encourages more interaction almost in the Facebook group.
Oh, yes. And that was really cool to see because at first I remember talking to my best friend who was basically behind in my ear the whole time saying, you have to do this. You have to do this group, Lauren. All of these people are like wanting what you're given. So you need to start it. So she was one of the driving factors. And the whole time I was talking to her about how I was worried, like, this is going to take up so much of my time. How am I going to do all of this and still have my YouTube, my TikTok, my Instagram, just and my normal life? But really, it just did it. Like it took on a world of its own. It just became its own living thing, which was so cool. So I didn't really have to have like a dedicated post or picture or something every single day because I feel like that would be a lot. That's a lot of work. Even though the group was a lot of work, I like that it was self-led and community driven, like you said.
We're going to talk about this in a future episode, but I think also a lot of crafters, it's a very solitary thing, right? And so being able to create and find community is huge for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so we're actually going to record an episode about this. I worked on the outline this morning, but we're going to talk about how it can be very isolating if you are a crafter, but maybe you live in some remote town, or maybe you have a chronic condition, or maybe,
Yes.
you know, all of these different things. And so to be able to connect with other people who are like you in a group that is fun and engaging and all of that, that can be life-giving. Like, it's more than just like,
Yes.
cool, I'm getting ideas for crafts. It's I'm connecting with people on like this level that my other community can't connect with me on. I love my husband to death, but there is just no way he's going to come out here and talk to me about like the stuff I was crafting today. Okay, maybe he will. That's a lie. He will. But you know what I mean? It's like there's just like maybe the people around you aren't super supportive of your crafts. Finding that community is so much more than just like being in a Facebook group. It's really is just, it can be very life-giving.
Quick story about husbands and the excitement. So I just got the UV printer and did a whole review on it. I was so excited when I got that thing. And I'm like bringing stuff and I'm like, my husband is on and I'm like, look at this, what I can make now. And they're like, yeah, great. But when I showed it in like the Slack to like Corey and Jen and Crystal, they were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. That was the feedback I was looking for, people, not like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Exactly.
Husbands can be like that sometimes.
I'm like, you don't understand how cool this is. I made this.
Yes. And I kind of stopped showing my husband things unless they're like big projects because he is very supportive. But who I like showing it to are my kids because they are always like, you made that. And I love that. I'm like, yes, you get too. Let me show you. Like I was recently beating some fish and I kept telling my husband, oh, I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to make some fish. He did not understand. We started laughing like a few nights later. He goes, I did not know what you were talking about when you were saying you were going to go make some fish. I said, I know. They're beaded fish though. And my kids loved it. My daughter, she's like, I want to learn how to do that. I said, okay, sit down. I taught her. Now she's teaching all of her little friends. It's just funny. That's what I want. The kids' reaction.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention is that how the Facebook groups have evolved because at first when I started my group, you couldn't do a group video meet, but then in about halfway through, that was one of the features that rolled out, and we started doing those meetings where we would all kind of sit in together, and it was really awesome. I liked that a lot, and that helps the not feeling alone because since I don't have the creative community, that's kind of how I feel here in this space right now because my husband has been back from his deployment. And, you know, if my kids aren't here, I'm kind of like in the space alone because there's not really too many creative people or people who even really understand what I'm doing who like live locally. It's everybody that I know is online. So having that meetup digitally is really awesome to have.
All right. So next we're going to talk about like the monetization of the community. But first I wanted to say, I love this episode because I think there's a huge misconception out there. Like if you get big enough on YouTube or you get big enough on TikTok, that's all you need to do, right? You just need to make videos and the dollars will just start rolling in. You don't have to do anything else. And it's completely untrue. Like it is a complete misconception. So when you started your community and monetizing it, any lessons you learned about pricing, value, different ways you could monetize it that maybe were successful?
When I first started it, I was just kind of looking to replace like the tumblers that I was making because the tumblers took a long time to make and people weren't going to pay like $100 for a tumbler. So anyway, I was just trying to like make up that. And then when I saw how many people were joining and everything, I do think that for the value of what was in the group, I could have charged more, but it was kind of like that sweet spot. I felt like 15 was a really good price. At first, I think I was only going to charge like $5 or something just to have that little bit of like exclusiveness. And then I quickly like realized after talking with my husband, like, no, that is too little of amount for what the amount of work I would be putting into it. So that $15 was really like that sweet spot because I feel like 20 or above, that's more of a commitment. Whereas this is like, it felt more relaxing. So another way that I made income from the group itself, besides that $15 a month fee, was through affiliate links. And everything that I was making would have like, you know, an Amazon link or an affiliate link to the companies that I was working with. but it wasn't, these were things that people would be buying anyway if they were doing the tutorials, and it didn't cost them any extra to use those links or anything, which is why I love affiliate marketing, especially if, they are products that you use and love. So I was an affiliate for a Tumblr company, glitter company, my top coat company, and other companies. But when people would use the exclusive discounts that they give me, I was also getting paid off of that. So I had a really good amount of income coming in that was able to help provide for my family. And it was fantastic. And I'm still using to this day, even though the group isn't there, I still have my affiliate codes and all of those links and the tutorials that I'm using with the products and everything. So that income is still there.
I think that sometimes people, especially crafters who are just trying to get into this sort of like content creation space, think, how do you even become an affiliate person? It's not hard for some companies. Some companies it's a little bit harder, but basically a lot of companies will just have like affiliates on their website and you can go and sign up. You may
Right.
need to say like, hey, I'm building a Facebook group and this is, I'd love to use your products, that kind of thing. I already
Yeah.
use your products, all these things. And you can just get yourself a little link and you'll make, 4 to 10% on a purchase. And it's a nice little way to support companies that you want to support. Like I highly recommend using the products that you are an affiliate
Yes.
for. Don't just become an affiliate for anything. But it is another way to like give something of value to your members in your group and to help support your business a little bit and support the company and brand that you're working with.
Yes. And if you need help reaching out to those companies, I have, a little bit of advice. Like if you're already using their products, just make sure that you're consistently tagging them. You can share them to your stories, share your videos with them just by, sharing it in the DMs and say, hey, look at this. And majority of my partnerships that I have all come through the brands noticing me just simply through that.
Now let's talk challenges, because obviously there were challenges with this. With running a community, any community, there's challenges. So what kind of challenges did you face and how did you address them?
Okay. So one of the first ones was the removing of members. And I quickly realized I am like an empath. I knew that, but I did not want to be responsible for removing people. So I had admins, I had people that would do that for me. I had my husband who made my spreadsheets. Another thing that happened that I didn't realize after the community started, talking with each other, the friendships that were made, that was awesome. But I did have this one instance where I ended up having to have a talk with one of the members because behind the scenes, she was actually messaging some of the other community members and trying to recruit them to her MLM. And so I had no idea about this until somebody reached out to me and they said, Lauren, I'm going to send you a screenshot of this message I just got. And I think that this is going to a lot of the people within your group. And I said, oh my goodness. Okay, I'm going to handle that right away. So that was just one of the things. But the group was really great in itself, I will say, because as my babies started getting older, and so now, I have 4 kids. I say that a lot, but they are my life. And so the amount of sports and all of the things that we had going on. Plus, in all of this, we also had a PCS, which means we moved. So we moved from New York down to Savannah, Georgia. And there was just a lot of things going on. So you have to make sure that you are taking care of your mental health and having other people pick up for you where you lack. So when I wasn't able to give my time, I was making sure that like my admins were in the group, answering questions, asking things, maybe posting for me. I would like send an idea that I had. I even had a few friends when I was in my PCS move step in and do tutorials for me. So they were like guests, not part of the babes in business, but part just like in there doing tutorials as like a favor to me. And people loved that. They're like, oh my gosh, I love her. Oh, I love her. You're friends with her. That's awesome. I love what she made. Let's have some more of that. So then just by having those things, I realized, oh, people like seeing more of other people. And, so it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes like change is good.
Yeah. I think one thing that's coming to my mind here while we're talking about this is This also might be a good thing to start maybe with a partner or a friend, right? So Angie and I obviously do 1,000 things together now. But I feel like running a group is a lot, right? It's just a lot. But
Yeah.
maybe if you have somebody like your sister or, your bestie or whatever, and you both are kind of on the same wavelength, then you're having two people and you can like play to each other's strengths. And so I feel like this might
Yes.
be one of those things that, yes, you can do it on your own, absolutely, but it might be something that you want to try with a friend because that way you also have the interaction between the two of you, and that thing, and then you can both split the amount of work.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm always thinking,
That's a
like,
great idea.
oh, what if I get sick? And if you have someone else, then they could just host the whatever and you're just sick that day. Yeah. I'm always like, what if I get sick if I schedule a live?
Yeah, we had one podcast episode where like 20 minutes before we aired, I decided I needed to go to urgent care. I was so sick. And so Angie had to do the pod. It's like our one episode where there's only one of us. That was when we were still doing them live. So it was like, there was no way around like that. So Angie did the podcast alone. But yeah, it would have been stressful had one of us just been doing it by ourselves because,
Yes. That's happened to me in the past with lives. And that was why I started incorporating more of the pre-recorded things, because for the lives, some things would come up all of the time, especially with my kids or my husband or something's going on. And like, I know that I said I was going to go live, but now I can't. And I did not want people to, be looking forward to something and then me letting them down, because that would always make me feel bad. Even though they said, no, it's fine. I would feel bad.
All right. So what you've told us so far has been super helpful. What advice would you give crafters who want to start this, who might not have like the huge audience to start? So you were really, lucky in that you had built up that audience. Some of our listeners might not have that audience. So do you have any advice for those people who are kind of starting maybe from scratch-ish, who maybe have a small group of people or craft fair, people that they've sold to, a small email list, that sort of thing?
Yes. Okay. So if you don't have a big following, what I would do is I would make a really cool video and some assets that you have where you can create a few ads. Maybe you don't need to spend a lot of money. Just put like a few $100s towards it. Put that out there. See if you can bring in some people. And like I said before, under promise, over deliver. Make sure that what you are providing is something that people really want. So do your research. Really, if you want to niche down, you can and get specific with those things that you're offering. But I feel like everybody has a valuable set of skills that they can share and make money off of. So depending on whatever your handmade craft is, you can make those skills available to people at a price. And so maybe having a group wouldn't be your full income, but it would just be like that extra little thing. And depending on what your craft is, like let's say you're a metalsmith. I have some friends who do gorgeous handmade jewelry. If they were doing like a group, I would expect them to charge probably more, because their information is going to be really valuable for somebody wanting to learn that set of skills. So it'd be worth more. And if you have a higher ticket class like that in a group setting, then you don't need as many people. Just a few. So maybe you don't need to do a group on a large scale, but you can do something smaller and still make like a good amount of income.
Yeah. And I think another thing too would be to be consistent. I think that's a place that a lot of people fizzle out at. I'm going to start this thing. I'm going to do it. And then like 2 months in, they're like, yeah, I just forgot this month or something, So you need to be accountable to your group members. They are paying you. So you need to make sure they are
Yes.
getting value.
Yeah, that's huge. And that was one of the reasons why I stopped the group, because I know that there were people in there that would have stayed and they just wanted to support me. It probably didn't even matter, what I was posting in there. But if I wasn't providing that value, it was more going to be like a mental load on me, where I'm like, I don't want to do that to people. I want to be of value. I want to contribute and, provide to the world.
Yeah. And if people are getting that huge value out of it, so they are getting, you are over delivering, word of mouth is going to grow your subscribers more than anything else at that point. So definitely the over delivering thing, I think, is a huge part of it.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Lauren, thank you so much. I think we're done. Thank you so much for joining us today, highlighting these sort of opportunities for, thinking outside the box on ways to make money as a crafter. Even though you've chosen to close your group because your husband deployed and life sometimes just gets in the way, and that's okay, I feel like what you've shared here today is going to be really valuable for our listeners.
Thank you for coming on. It was a pleasure. Your story highlights both the opportunities and challenges of running a paid online community. So we definitely want to address the challenges here. And for many crafters, creating a space, any space that can offer that rewarding income stream month after month after month, and it aligns with their goals and capacity is something that would benefit a small business owner. So getting that sustainable income, even though you don't have the capacity to produce 50 tumblers a day.
Yeah, so if you are listening to this and you have found this has inspired you to consider a group, we hope that you found this episode helpful. If you have questions or thoughts, again, we have that form at the bottom of the YouTube description or in the podcast notes, so you can go ahead and ask us any questions. So don't forget to subscribe to Crafting for Profit on your favorite podcasting platform, and please leave us a review if you enjoyed the podcast. And then if you're like Lauren's friends and you're like, hey, I have this friend that needs to start a community. She needs to get her information out into the world. Go ahead and text this episode to them right now because they need it. So until next time, keep crafting and keep growing your business.
Thanks for having me.